One, going live. Hey, hello friends. Welcome back to another episode of Talk Power BI. I don't know why I made it sound like a question. Well, definitely welcome back. So if you're joining us online, do say us hello. Put a chat in the chat box. Let us know where you're watching us from. Now we do have our friends from our Learn Power BI program on the phone. I'm going to say hi to them. So I see Estefania, I see Frank, Pontus, Bill, Judy, and Thomas. Awesome. So, folks, today's episode is Dashboard Makeover. And if you have never joined us before, where have you been, my friends? Oops, is that right? Yeah, cool. So, Dashboard Makeover, if you go to our website, you can find out about it under the free resources. It's one of those gems in there. And Dashboard Makeover, the idea is simple. You send us your dashboards and we review them. You get showcased in front of a worldwide audience. And of course, you get expert feedback. I'm tempted to put expert in quotes, but that's okay. I'll let you be the judge of that. The good thing is that you don't just get feedback from me. Of course, you can get feedback from all the folks who are on the phone joining us from the Learn Power BI family. They have certainly been around the block with Power BI, and of course, folks on the YouTube as well. So it's a great opportunity. Now, this also blends in with one of my core beliefs around what makes you successful. And some of you have heard me talk about that. You can't just do good work these days. You got to do good work and tell great stories, right? So do good work, tell great stories. Hey, that's the way the world is. I know I've lived in the mindset, well, you know what? I'm just going to focus on my work and build and they shall come kind of approach, right? And you probably realize by now that it doesn't quite how it works. So why not play the game according to the rules, right? That's what if you don't kind of play the game by the rules, well, you're not likely to win, are you? Right? So them's the rules, my friends, right? Do good work, do good work, tell great stories. So this is also your opportunity to tell great stories and come here and talk about your work. Cool. So let's check in. Looks like folks are joining us online. Hello, hello. Who do we have? We have Ari. Ari is saying hashtag win. That's great. I rocked a presentation yesterday. Thanks to you. All right. Well, thanks for giving me some credit. Jenny will says hi. Always good to see familiar faces. Victor says howdy. Danny is here. Hello again from Greensboro, Georgia. Hello, hello. And Lauren says good morning from right here in Issaquah, Washington. Hey, we could have done this show together, Lauren. Yeah, I'm in Issaquah. Seattle area. When you say Issaquah I usually say Seattle when I'm traveling, but to Seattleites I can say I'm in Issaquah. Awesome. So folks, before we get started, just one more big announcement, which is Real Power BI is open. And it has taken over our homepage. So all you have to do is just go to our website, learnpowerbi.com. Generally, that also lives under the free resources, which is free project help. So Real Power BI is your opportunity to get a helping hand with your Power BI projects. Wouldn't that be awesome? Imagine somebody working shoulder to shoulder with you, or maybe they taking the lead for a little bit, but while still you can watch over their shoulders. Wouldn't that be awesome? So we have a group of pretty amazing professionals inside our Pro Plus program. And they can't wait to kind of get out there, help people with Power BI and change the world. This is a stepping stone in the journey for some of them where they are looking to help businesses with their Power BI projects. And this is on an application basis. So, people hear free and like, why is it free? What are you not telling us? So I'll tell you everything. I'll spill all the beans. It's free because, for one, it's application based, and not everybody may be selected. That's a possibility. But again, the earlier you apply for this, the better your chances are of being selected. And it's also on a time limited basis. So obviously you can't say, build me a rocket to go to Mars. You wouldn't be able to do that. Well, certainly not with Power BI. But yeah, so it can't be boil the ocean kind of thing. It'll be time limited. Usually these projects last 4 to 5 weeks. But hey, if you've been around Power BI, you know a heck of a lot is possible in 4 to 5 weeks. And so yeah, so if you go to our website, learnpowerbi.com, or I think realpowerbi.com, that also redirects that to the page. You can read more about it and just click the apply now button. And again, the earlier you apply, the better your chances are of being matched to somebody amazing. So that's Real Power BI, my friends. Cool. Let's see. If anybody has any questions on Real Power BI on YouTube, let us know. But I mean, I think I should add that line here. I sent that. I put that in the email that I sent out, which I said, man, you have nothing to lose, right? You have nothing to lose and a lot to potentially gain. So why not go for it? All right, awesome. So let's switch over to Dashboard Makeover. And first of all, I want to thank each and every one of you who submitted their entry. So we know that for some of you, at least, the button is working, right? So because people did submit the entry using this, but we also heard from some folks that it is not working. So I don't know if you tried it and didn't work. Definitely let us know. Avi at avisingh.com. AVI. Well, you all know my email, right? So so let us know if you had trouble with this button. I mean, it kind of works for me. It really pops open an email. That's what it does. There we go. And then you can just attach your screenshot or PBIX. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Oh, you're thinking, oh, my data is sensitive. Don't worry, folks. We got you taken care of. Just scroll down here, and we got this whole video, a complete video to guide you step by step and show you how simple it is to just take some screenshots, blur out the sensitive data. That's the simplest way to submit it. That's the simplest way to tell your story of your work, even if you're presenting at a conference or a meetup or a user group. And this can be your stepping stone. Submit it here, get some feedback from us, make it shine even more, and then go ahead and kind of conferences, user groups, meetups, whatever. Go ahead and present your story there. So again, thanks to everybody who submitted. I'm gonna call out. Nope, this is not it. Let's see. So we have Aftab Sabir submitted his dashboard. Thank you, Aftab. Halil Dogan sent his sales dashboard. That looks really interesting, folks. We may and Jesse Bryant had a daily sales dashboard. So Halil had a kind of a worldwide region country dashboard, kind of interesting look. And we have our very own Kenneth Tyler. So you've heard from Kenneth Tyler. He's been featured on our channel. And he sends this dashboard. So I love these ones where we have one of the Learn Power BI members submit, because we can get more context. Otherwise, I mean, I have to kind of make up the context or assume the context. So let's see. I do hope Kenneth is on the phone. Kenneth, where are you? Oh, okay. Well, bummer. Kenneth isn't on the phone. So I guess you know what? Maybe we'll wait for Kenneth. We'll see if he joins later. That'll be more fun. I may. Oops. All right. All right. Hey, I'm gonna ping Kenneth really quick. I got your dashboard. All right, folks. So quick message over, and let's start with Halil's. So it looks like he has exported his Power BI report into PowerPoint, maybe blurred it out and then saved it as PDF, which is good. Yeah, so this report is an example. So first page is kind of this info page. I've seen some others do that. That's okay, I guess. So we'll move on to the real stuff. And you know what? First, I'll give you a walkthrough. So this one seems to be worldwide sales performance. I can see kind of the world map. You can see over here, and then we have regional sales performance. You can see it's focusing on a region. You can tell it by the map. Maybe this label was something useful, which obviously I can't read now. And then country, and then more country. So that's kind of the layout. So one thing I'm going to call out just for that, which I think is brilliant, brillante, my friends, which is, so you have heard me talk about in visualization inside my course on my channel, where I talk about this pattern that I use. It's a really simple pattern. And hey guys, if you ask me, I like simple. I love simple. And I think simple is great too. Simple is really effective. So the pattern is really simple. I call it the power pattern. And it just has high level numbers at the top, some breakdown and trends, right? So slice and dice data a few different ways, and then just a little bit of detail. Don't go too crazy on this. This is not Excel. Your job is, if you end up filled with tables and tables, then I don't know. Hope you know what you're doing. Yeah. All right. So so that's kind of the simple pattern. But one powerful thing that comes from this pattern. So again, I'm not saying that this is the all of your reports should look like this. Obviously, mine don't either. But I almost always use this as a starting point. Almost always. And then I evolve from there. So this, kind of you can adapt from that. But another thing that I have talked about and what I use is this, that if let's say that I'm using this pattern, then I'll use this, or whatever pattern that I come up with for a client, I'll use that pattern again and again and again and again. And of course, that's what Halil is showing here as well, which is brilliant, right? So if you think about this, that this is kind of the worldwide sales, and look how it's set up. Look at the graphs, right? Just kind of just do the squint test. You don't have to look too carefully, and look at the next one. See how similar it is, right? Everything is pretty much laid out exactly the same way. Regional. Now things change slightly, I think, in the other ones. This one is still the same. Okay, cool. So yeah, so I think well, actually things change slightly on the slicers, but that's okay. But otherwise, he's using the same pattern, which, oops, no, didn't want to do that. Which again is brilliant, because from the visualization perspective, what it is doing is that, imagine if the worldwide sales, this page was really different than the next page and the next page. The user has to reorient themselves as they navigate that. So, oh, now sales year over year here. Now that graph is over there. And oh, now this graph is telling me a different thing. It's not telling me actual versus last year or something like that, even though it looks the same. So you can really mess them up. And of course, sometimes really bad things can happen where they may not even notice that, oh, now this graph isn't showing actual versus last year. It's showing something else. I don't know what. So, so yeah, that's less good. This is more good, where you keep a pattern and follow it, and sometimes you can kind of make changes. And one thing that I do sometimes is that I draw a line here. So sometimes I need to show different things in worldwide versus regional. So over the line, this would be standard. This will be always the same. Doesn't matter if you're looking at worldwide regional sales, but then below the line, I'll change that stuff. And again, that line can be a subtle hint that things are different, right? So again, visualization, what we are talking about is building a dashboard by design. So for one, you need to understand the visualization principles, which I talk about in the course, which we talked about in this channel. Yeah, right. So and yeah, so dashboard by design, and of course, one of the principles that we talk about is that less is more. Don't like color in the background and so forth. We've talked about pixel economy, right? So just a slight hint is good. So what I've used is just like a thin gray line. So sorry, I can't draw I can only do like primary colors here, it seems. But thin gray line, that's it, a little bit hint. All right, cool. So that's a good thing. Otherwise, so again, we've talked about how this part is usually the most important. I think I'm okay with the title there. I mean, so again, the order of importance. So treat this like real estate, right? All real estate is not equally valuable, is it? No. I mean, a plot downtown would be really a lot more expensive than something in the suburb, right? So in our screen real estate, this is the most expensive, most valuable, and in general, people scan in this order. So that's the order of importance as well. So I'm not really gung-ho about this whole thing being taken over by title? Can it be less? Can it be can it be off to the side, something like that? So maybe we can, Khalil can experiment with that. All right, but he does kind of follow the pattern that I talk about, the power pattern, where big, the big numbers at the top. He doesn't quite put it at the top, but he does put them kind of big and bold. So again, you can't see the number, but I can see from the font here that it'll be, kind of pretty big and bold. So sales actual is pretty big and bold, and then these numbers are slightly less bold, but last year percentage year over year and active customers. I'm okay with that. The only thing that I'm wondering though is that that's interesting. So I think these are two numbers here. I'm not sure. So again, it's blurred out, but it has labels, says active customers and sales per active customer. I wonder if it is. It would be really nice if there was some indicator whether to say, is it good or is it not? Are active customers growing or are they not, right? So otherwise, if we just show a number, then what's the context? Oh, we have 100 active customers. What does that mean? Is that good or bad, right? So you're showing a number, but there's no way to kind of tell if that's good or bad. We can explore that. That may be something to consider as well. Maybe we can show it just by the coloring of the text. So if it's red, it means not good, something like that. And then give them a way to drill down here. So of course, right, so do a drill down report, or maybe give them a small block here, and it'll say, hey, if you click here, you're going to go to the drill, what is it called? I mix them up sometimes. Drill through page, something. So they go to a different page where they can see a lot more detail about active customers. So that's what I'll say about this block. But I like this block. It's in a quite a prominent area. So again, top left is quite a good real estate area. So it's put the important numbers right up there, and that's good. Small kind of pet peeve, which I would say is that I'm not a huge fan of kind of acronyms and stuff. Like sales ACT dot. Do we really need to do ACT dot? I mean, UAL is just 2 extra letters. I mean, if you count dot as a letter, right? So maybe we can just say actual, right? So yeah, I like it when things sound like humans are talking rather than some weird stuff. So that's the only thing I would comment. Yeah. So this block I like. The waterfall chart is loved by many. I'm not sure I'm one of them. Yeah, waterfall chart, I have seen finance people use it, and they often use it as kind of a storytelling. They walk people through, and they will have comments sometimes. So they'll say, oh yeah, this happened, and this group did well, and da-da-da, and this group did really well. This was marginally well, but then this one was pretty flat, but then we had kind of troubles. So, right, so they use it for storytelling, and as they walk somebody through. But just as a dashboard, which is going to be looked at, so I don't know what's the context of this report is. This is somebody presenting it to a room full of people, then sure, waterfall is okay. But otherwise, if it's just being looked at, then yeah, I'm not a huge fan of waterfall chart. I think just showing this on like a column or bar chart may be more effective. Like for example, you have to do a lot of visual and mental gymnastics to kind of try to compare these bars, like so yeah, because they're not aligned, right? So this is, it's a different visual. It may be worthwhile, depending on what the context is, to just see if a column chart would be more effective. I do like this one. I love this one, and I like using muted shades, muted colors, and this is brilliant, right? I mean, this is exactly how you want to use it. So the current year would obviously be kind of a bit bold, which is in this case black, and the last year is a great idea to have it be a lighter shade of that. So you see that those two are connected, those two are the same thing, apples and apples, and lighter shade, less important, right? So yeah, that's a great idea. That's good. And again, I talked about real estate and how not all screen real estate is equal. This is extremely valuable, and the value generally goes down this way because we scan that way, at least any place where we speak English, I guess, because English people scan that way. Arabic, you scan the opposite way. So I like placing the slicers off on the side. So obviously, I like slicers. I love slicers. I love putting them on the dashboard, giving the user the ability to just kind of slice and dice using that. But yeah, this is slicers. They're not like data. They're not data pixels. They're not showing data. So they should be kind of minimized or eliminated. That's the rule. And so this is I like the placement of that. Awesome. Now maps, I think they are quite a bit misused, and I don't know. People like maps, but are they effective? I don't think so. They're not that effective. Like for instance, here this map is almost useless. I mean, it shows me dots on the world, and but can I think about my ability to compare South Latin America with Asia Pacific. And if this was in a column chart, so in a column chart, your precision is unbelievably how precise we are in judging that. So again, because that is what is called a pre-attentive attribute, and it is actually processed in a way even before it hits our brain. I mean, we know it immediately that, oh, this line is slightly longer than the other. If you do circles, pie charts, whatever, it's severely diminished. We are actually really bad at it. And the worst part is that we're actually much worse than we think we are. So, right, that's where it gets risky. So we think we're okay, but we're not. I mean, you test humans and they're like, they suck. So you ask them to judge that, hey, how big is this circle than that circle? And they'll say something, it's 3 times as big. And they'll say, hey, how confident are you? So they would rate themselves very confident, but they're pretty bad. So they'll say, oh yeah, I'm about 50% right. But then when you judge it over a whole bunch of people, they will only be right 25%. So you see what I'm saying? See what I'm trying to say here, right? I mean, so that's a risky thing. So maps, I'm not a huge fan of. Although in this one, it might kind of work because it's part of a pattern. So the worldwide, this seems almost laughable. I mean, like, oh gosh, why are we showing it in map? But this one, yeah, I'm still not sure. What value do we derive from that? I really feel that a simple column chart would be so phenomenal. It would be so pretty and beautiful. And here, I don't know, right? So I mean, maybe at the country level, is it useful at the country level? Well, it depends. I don't know. So what is the purpose? What is the purpose? So again, dashboard by design or dashboard by accident? Right? So did we put up a map there saying, oh, it looks good. Yeah, everybody likes maps. Or did we think about why do we want to put a map there? What conclusion, insights do we want people to draw? So let's stay at Turkey. What conclusions can I draw? What do you think, guys? So on the phone, looking at the Turkey map, what would you say? What do you see? What's happening in Turkey?
Avi,
Yeah. Hey, Kenneth is on. Awesome, Kenneth. Hey, we're going to you next. So yeah, mate.
the map answers a question like, "Do my sales cover all of Turkey,
Mm-hmm.
or is there some big area like I'm not along the coast of the Black Sea?" I mean, in this case, he
Yep.
is.
Yep.
And it also answers a really, really grossly compared. It says, "Well, my big sales are in 3 urban areas. I haven't
Yeah.
managed to really get out, but otherwise." It's pretty thin.
Yeah.
What you can get out of it.
Spot on, mate. Spot on. So guys, man, watch and learn, right? I mean, this is awesome. So Kenneth nailed it. So this one, yep, exactly as he said, we can say that, oh, Turkey is well covered. So imagine if we only saw dots on this side, then we would say that, oh, we were in this region of Turkey, but we still have room to expand, maybe, and stuff like that. So that's a factor, and then yeah, you can see the big centers. So these three dots kind of. So of course, that one is the largest, so you notice that. So well, I guess if I look carefully, that's Istanbul. That's great. And then and here, and this one is only slightly larger than others, but yeah, so we have kind of some footprint there. So it tells you that. So there's some information there, but Europe, I, I mean, and again, I mean, so my bread and butter is what I call operational reports, which are reviewed every day, every week, every month. You're looking at it on a regular basis. So at a so it depends on. So again, I mean, a lot of it is it depends. The lawyer answer, right? So how fast are you expanding? If you're expanding worldwide really fast and dots are popping up everywhere, then this may still be interesting in a map, although I would still argue that. And similarly, if you're expanding really fast, and yeah, as new dots come up or things are changing really rapidly, then even then, so I would say expansion map would kind of show, but then again, it will only show it over time, which we don't quite have it here. So you would have to add kind of an element here where maybe they can toggle back and forth. They can say, oh, show me last year's footprint and then show me this year's footprint. And do you give them a toggle where they can't really see them side by side, or you show them side by side, which would be probably a better way. Because again, when you switch screens, when you do a toggle, our brain actually retains, they say about, I don't know, 7 to 10 pieces of information. And how large the pieces depends on how it's coded. Like, is it numbers? Is it graph? Is it trend? Something like that. So yeah, we retain very little. So yeah, there's a so again, so I think we have to look at it from the light of maybe this. So if this is a one-time presentation to, I don't know, prospective buyers of the company or something, then maybe the world map is okay because it shows them visually kind of the footprint, right? So again, if it's a one-time presentation, prospective buyers, they're here to buy our company, we show them, oh, look, we're kind of spread worldwide, and our presence in Europe is really strong, and Turkey, maybe they're here to buy our Turkey unit or something, I don't know, right? So one time is good, but for operational report, you have to realize that what is the purpose? I mean, footprint, is it increasing rapidly? Is that what you're trying to show? If what you're trying to show, frankly, map wouldn't show that anyway, because map is going to be a static. So either you have to do a toggle, or you have to show side by side, like before and after. So yeah, maps, I'm not sure. I'm I'm really careful with maps. And the odd thing is that so people love maps, as I said, and it's one of those. It's kind of like the pie chart thing, right? I mean, they want the pie chart. Like, oh. So what I try to get is, what are they trying to get at? So do think, I would say, at least consider once how else you could show this. So think about this. We could show this. Imagine this one being shown as a column chart by city, right? Cool, column chart. Now, column chart doesn't show us our kind of penetration in the market. But what if, and again, I'm going out on a limb here, what if we took the whole population of Turkey and then took the population of the cities we're in, or, hey, if you want to get really fancy, draw a radius of maybe 10 miles or something around your stores or something like that. Again, it all depends on what your service is. And count that population and show that as a footprint. And if you think about it, wouldn't that be far better than maps? Why? Well, because of this. Oh boy. So, U.S. So I'm an immigrant, right? And I always kind of find this curious that how the population densities are really, really different. So come on, image. There you go. Boy. Or the night. There we go. Oh shoot, it's a movie. Wait, where is my image? Oh, there it is. Right. So if you saw things on a map, you don't really understand, right? I mean, well, yeah, our stores are let's say our stores are here, right? But if you're not showing, oh, well, actually, to be fair, you could show that as layers in maps. So you could do that. And you know what? I guess that could be cool. That could be cool if you had layers, one layer showing population and one layer showing this. But again, you can do it other ways. So again, I just want to encourage you to think a little bit out of the box, see if there's another way, see what your aim is, what you're trying to convey. What are you trying to convey? Are you trying to convey kind of growth and hey, look, we have grown into more areas? Then you can just show cities added, right? Cities added. So, oh yeah, I mean, we're in 73 cities, and 5 cities were added in the last quarter, last year, whatever time frame you're showing. All right, cool. So we've talked enough about maps, and we'll move on. And yeah, so I will say again, comment that man, this is really beautiful. So Halil, great job here. So again, guys, what I talked about in the power pattern, high level numbers up top, and then some breakdown and trends, and a little bit of detail, not too much. And this is like spot on, my friends, right? So high level numbers here, a little bit of breakdown, trends, map. I'm not gonna say anything again. Map is good. Well, we'll just call it good in this context. And again, I don't have half the context that's going on. The slices are in the right spot, and then not too much detail, but yeah, there's some detail. And now you can kind of drill through. You can look at the exact number, and you can pop out this chart if you need to look at it bigger and so forth. So overall, man, this is really good. So Alif, thank you. I enjoyed looking at this. And again, the fact which I mentioned right at the beginning, which is that he is using the same pattern for for worldwide, region. Oh, sorry. Let's go back. So this is worldwide, and then we have region, and again same pattern. That is brilliant. Let's do last few sheets, and well, if maps are questionable, this stuff is I don't know what to say. This is pointless. Yeah. So frankly, pie charts are bad as it is. Pie charts on maps are the work of the devil. so so I've seen people do that. It's tempting. You can not only show points, you can say, "Oh, I want to slice and dice by whatever, gender, data, something like that." Guys, just don't do it, and certainly don't do it if it starts looking like this, because it's not conveying anything, right? So again, you dashboard by design, dashboard, or dashboard by accident. And there's some other information here. Let's see. I think change product and trade goods. So yeah, I don't have the context. So I wouldn't quite be able to interpret it, but that's good. I think overall, really, really amazing. Uh, Anybody has any comments on the phone? Let me check how YouTube is doing. Are you guys hanging out okay? Oh boy. Oh I don't know how to do this. Oh, there we go. I was trying to pop out the chat.
I have a small comment, Bobby.
Kenneth, go ahead.
Uh, it could be the case. Sometimes the audience you're presenting to is really, in some ways, not prepared for too hard hitting of a presentation. They just might not be sophisticated enough, or they might not have enough of an idea that you really need to dig into your data and work.
Yeah.
And I can see situations where so putting the map on is kind of a softball. You're saying, look, I'm showing you a report. Isn't it pretty? And then you
Yeah.
get a chance to educate them and work them towards saying, we want to see a bar chart because we really want to know but
Yeah.
sometimes that
I know.
enthusiasm might not be there.
I know. Frankly, I kind of struggle with that too. So, of course, you read Stephen Few, which I'm a huge fan. He said no pie charts, and the way he explains maps are not effective. But yeah, I mean, people love them, and frankly, I'm not really sure why. I mean, visually, what is the connection that we have with maps? I'm not really sure. Are we explorers by design? Maybe that's why, right? I mean, it's the explorer in us, in human species overall.
I think in some ways it's kind of a reverse psychology.
Mm-hmm.
A map makes you feel good, but doesn't challenge you to push the understanding a lot further,
Yeah,
right? So you
yeah.
say, "Oh, look, I see it," but it doesn't go any further. And for some people, that's comfortable,
I know.
right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, frankly, now that you prompted me, I'm kind of thinking about it. Like, why do maps make us feel good? So, is it the explorer in us? And I'm thinking about, obviously, in our modern life, we kind of use maps all the time. I mean, it's funny, right? I mean, I've lived in this town for 15 years, and I still pull up Google Maps pretty much everywhere I go, except at the grocery store, maybe. So we're using maps, but is it? It has to be deeper than that for it to explain our love of maps. Um, so yeah, there's certainly something about maps, and yeah, people like it. So you're right. I mean, I think you talked about kind of comfort. In a way, maybe it's there's some psychological triggers that map have. Maybe it orients us, and we know what that is. Versus bar chart and column charts are still one level of interpretation away. You know, I mean, if I look at this chart, man, I have to spend 1 second to understand it, right? I mean, if I look at this, even the line chart, this is as simple as it gets. It doesn't get any simpler than that. And I love simple, but even for this, I had to kind of match up, and I say, oh yeah, this is sales, this is that. But when I see a map, I mean, you know, so yeah, there's something there. Cool. So folks, good point, Kenneth. Yeah, starting out, maybe maybe put a map out there. They'll love it, most likely. All right, Oscar is here. Oscar is here from Seattle. Maps are very useful. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Boy, I mean, if you want to see kind of exactly where my stores are in the Seattle market area, and then kind of cluster them and so forth, or look at population and say, oh look, and then color them based on something, right? So and color the stores, and you'll say there's something happening in this region. I can see that. I mean, we have dots spread over, but these dots are kind of more red than others. So maps in the right situation can be brilliant. I generally feel that the kind of reports that I said are my bread and butter, kind of operational reports that I use day to day, maps are usually not that effective. But for other cases where you're doing kind of analysis, where you're looking for that needle in the haystack, looking for that insight, like what's going on with our stores, something like that, in that digging process, throwing it up on a map can be really insightful. And then, of course, if you do draw an insight from that, then storytelling on that. So again, storytelling is not operational reporting, right? Uh, right, where you're in front of a room and you basically want to take them through a guided path and tell them a story and really convince them of your point of view. That's what that is, right? So, yep, good point. All right, so AJM is saying I work on the railway and to know where hotspot areas for asset failures are to help. Engineering work is priceless. Yeah, like where do failures typically occur? Where geographically? Awesome. Great. So let's move on to the one from Kenneth. So Kenneth, you want
Hey,
to? Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Awesome. So walk us through. Yeah, tell us what we're looking at.
Okay.
Oops.
Um, Stephen Few, who you mentioned, makes a big point about dashboards is that they should lead to action. They should be for someone who is good.
Mm-hmm.
They should include data which would lead someone to take action. You know, that's the kind of report they are. And this report is using a custom control that does um, process control charts. And the kind of situation it's being used in, and Leo and I are using it on a new project he has, is when you have a project and you have a big bunch of data and
Mm-hmm.
you want to look from like 20,000 feet and say, I can't go through every single bit of all this data in detail and drill down. What are the hotspots? What are the places that are significant
Mm-hmm.
that I should go look at and try to understand? So the the process control charts were set up for manufacturing, but they work really well in just any kind of situation where you have data that repeats over time periods.
Mm-hmm.
So this is on top of Contoso example database, and it's just mapping the sales. And the chart is breaking it up and showing us a chart for each of the 3 years. And the process control chart, you can see the little red boxes. The little red boxes are they have rules. So if sales go above the normal range, the two dotted lines are the normal range. That
Mm-hmm.
means something significant happened.
Yeah.
If sales are just moving up or moving down,
Yeah.
well, that's just normal.
Yeah.
That's the one you have to go figure out what happened there.
Got it. Actually, do you mind doing me a favor? So, man, sometimes kind of sample data is. So, can you tell me about the data set that you're actually working on?
Oh, yeah. It's a data set that Leo has.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually going to show that data set, but
Yeah.
we
But
I
yeah,
confused.
but I think
But
that'll
it's
help me
it's
understand these
okay.
concepts better.
So
Yeah.
he's working for the state of Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
They have data on providers of medical services. They
Uh-huh.
have six major providers.
Mm-hmm.
So he has all this data of how many people appointments went to those providers. Okay.
Yeah.
So we opened up his data, we put the chart on, and we he just did a count
Mm-hmm.
of the data,
Yeah.
uh, right? And so it was a graph, and we broke it down, and we got six of these little charts. All right,
All right.
and some things were like immediately obvious to the eye.
Yeah. So
One,
six of these for like per year, or they were six
no,
broken by
it's
different something
for
else.
it was for he's got like 9 months of data or something like that.
Okay. So the six were
Okay,
broken up by, I don't know, like a hospital location or something. I
yeah,
mean,
by the
healthcare data.
provider,
By okay, got it. By
by
the
the
provider.
provider,
All right.
right? So it
Yeah.
was immediately obvious that three of the providers
Yeah.
had a very small number of services they were providing.
Mm-hmm.
Two of the providers provided a lot more services,
Okay.
right?
Got it.
And the guys who were providing just a small number of services,
Mm-hmm.
their uh, their data was in control. It
Mm-hmm.
went up and down, and it stayed within its limits, and there was really nothing to see there.
Yeah.
The guys who were doing lots of services, their data was like all over the place. It was going above the high limit and below the low limit.
Yeah.
And and this is something I've seen in other literature where people who are doing a lot of something tends
Mm-hmm.
to be harder for them to keep the process in control.
Yeah.
So for him, and going back to them and saying, this is where I think we should go. I should go do some more reports for you, and we should investigate what's going on here and here.
Yeah.
The chart gives him immediate visual impact. He really doesn't have to convince people
Yep.
that he knows what the important parts of their data are.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's great. So guys, again, you're gonna have to. So everybody is watching. You're gonna have to do a little bit of a mental shift there as well. And hey, I mean, I teach using AdventureWorks, so I know we run into this. So again, control chart. What Kenneth explained kind of about healthcare data. Um, so look at this, but you got to imagine something else. So control chart is kind of a usually on processes where you have some target. So example, let's say that we want to how long we want to keep a patient waiting, or how quickly do we answer phone calls when they call our customer support center, or things like that, right? How quickly we resolve bugs in development and so forth, right? So we have some targets. So our target is we want to resolve in 3 days, and then there's going to be some sigma around it, some buffer around it. So you'll say, well, 3 days, but kind of plus minus one, and those are your kind of dotted lines, and those are your that's like your bowling lane. And if you go outside of that, you kind of end up throwing gutter ball. But then when you're looking at processes, it's not just about going outside of those range. And that's key thing. Anybody who's worked on process would definitely know that sometimes there can be other signs. And the beauty about this is that sometimes these can be precursor, right? I mean, these can be kind of early signs that a problem failure may occur. And that's what the process control charts do, right? So this one, for example, it's like it's in line, but there's something odd about it. But because I think these are 3 on the one side, that's one of the rules. And there are other rules around process charts. And it seems this custom visual kind of spots it. So again, I mean, it's showing Contoso sales, but apply this for your own example, for your own kind of process where you're trying to monitor something and keep it, kind of high quality. Awesome, Kenneth. So anything else you want to kind of share about this journey, about these graphs?
Yeah, the thing that hits me most about them is that what I hear a lot of people talking about, and there's a lot of situations I see, is that people have data stacked up to the roof.
Oh, yeah.
They just have so much data to look at. And these, one of the big virtues I would see in applying these is it tells you where to go spend your time and energy to dig deeper. If you plot the sales by 10 salesmen, it's going to tell it, you're going to have 10 little charts, and you're immediately going to see which salesmen are in trouble, which
Yeah.
salesmen are just, going along doing their normal thing. It gives that powerful visual feedback that almost stamps the idea in your brain, and I find that to be really, really valuable. And instead of just kind of chart and drill down and make graphs about everything, you can then go spend your precious time and energy on the places where your data is sending you a signal.
Brilliant. Love it. Awesome. All right, Kenneth, thanks for sharing that. Is Leo on the call? Oh, well,
I think
we'll acknowledge
I
him as well.
messed I messed I messed Leo up yesterday and
No worries.
about
Well,
this
you
scheduling.
represented the both of you. So yeah, thanks to Kenneth and Leo for submitting this and walking us through this. Let's go to our next example. By the way, so of course, folks, I would definitely encourage you to submit your dashboards for future makeovers. Well, actually, if you get it in now, I might still be able to review it in today's session. So yeah, just go to learnpowerbi.com/makeover, or you can find it under the free resources dashboard makeover, and that has just to submit your entry button. Click that, and it really opens up an email with some important disclaimer, which we need there, and that's why we're doing that as a button. And then don't forget to attach your screenshot. Sometimes people, they just kind of hit send. I think they're too excited about this, and so yeah. So just click that button, attach whatever you need to send, and bada bing, bada boom, we'll get it, we'll review it. You get showcased in front of a worldwide audience. You get to tell your story, and of course, you get pretty cool feedback, useful feedback. I hope. All right, so let's go on to the next one. So we covered Halil. Let's cover Jesse. We covered Halil, covered Kenneth. I'm trying to keep track. And we're going to go to Jesse, which is the daily sales report. And then we have Aftab. We'll do that as the last one. All right, so again, sales report, but this one, the goal of this is clear and easy daily sales report. So I love this kind of stuff. Again, this is my bread and butter. It's like an operational report, right? So if you, yeah, so okay, cool. So so daily sales report. The name says it all. And let's see, first impression, I like it. I mean, it looks clean. And I did notice that I'm pretty sure this is Zoom charts. I think this is Zoom charts as well. So it's using a custom visual, which is cool. Again, by default, I try to stay with standard visuals, not custom visuals. But they're cool if you need to use them. So no big deal there. I like standard visuals. Well, yeah. I mean, I won't say too much about that. So yeah, I like it. It's a kind of a clean enough look. So again, I would say what I said earlier, that the space at the top is important. It's valuable real estate, right? Imagine if you had to pay for this real estate out of your own pocket, $1 a pixel. Well, actually, this wouldn't be $1 a pixel. This would be more expensive. This would be more money. So you've paid that much for that property. You acquired it. What are you going to do with the prime property? You know, so yeah, so I mean, as a layout, it seems okay. But again, from a visualization perspective, you realize you're wasting prime real estate. So I would look into that. And again, guys, I mean, these are guidelines. Sometimes it doesn't quite work. I mean, you make your best effort and you can kind of fit it in, and it is what it is. But so again, it should be dashboard by design. It shouldn't be that, oh yeah, I thought it looks good. No, it should be, well, I realized that this is prime real estate. I did try to fit in the data, but I really couldn't. I tried it and it didn't work, right? So if you don't follow the rules, you should be able to kind of explain it to me. And of course, we talk about the same thing when we talk about modeling and relationships. So we were just talking about this in our students' call yesterday, where we were saying that it's okay to have dotted lines and it's okay to have bidirectional relationships. So again, my default is this one directional relationship. Simple. That's how it should be. But if you have a dotted line, if you have a bidirectional relationship, that's okay. I'm not saying that's not okay, but you better be able to explain it to me. Often that's not what happens. I ask people like, why is this a dotted line? I don't know. Why is this bidirectional? I don't know. Well, for one, because the way they're creating relationships, or they're not, they're letting Power BI auto detect it. Don't do that. Turn that off. All right, so that was kind of modeling by design. This is dashboard by design. So that's the first thing that I would say that the first thing that I said was I like the look, that is clean. But the next thing I would say is that maybe reconsider where this stuff can go. Can it somehow be kind of attached here? And again, it may not work, but at least consider that. All right, cool. So we have some logo here, daily sales report, This slide. So again, I mean, I'm still kind of stuck on this because my eye is focused on that. So that's what happens, right? I mean, we focus on the top thing, and frankly, this is not data, right? These are not data pixels. This is not conveying any information to me. So I'm stuck there. So I realize this is a daily report, but I think it should still have high-level numbers. Where are they? Where are the high-level numbers for the daily report? So again, we talked about this. I love putting high-level numbers up top. Again, this is where the eyes go to begin with. Don't make me guess. Don't make me hunt for it. Just show it to me. So in here, if I were to guess, I would say the high-level numbers are way down at the bottom, and this is like the armpit of dashboard reporting. This is the least important area. So again, we scan this way. We start from the top, go from left to right, and then after we scan, we end up kind of here. So it's just doing it disservice. So if this is indeed the high level numbers, like actual for this day is 2 million, 2.1 million, whatever, I would imagine that being right up there. And again, this indicator is good. Like, so you don't want to just show the numbers without any context. Is that number good or bad? Actual is 2 million. Well, what does that mean? That means nothing, right? But, well, how does it compare to budget, right? So again, we've seen that here. We've seen that in the Halil dashboard. So give me that. So high-level numbers I would put up top. So let's imagine that that's kind of being done. And again, these ones I would see, does it really need to be here? Can I put that over on the other side, right? Over on this side, because again, screen real estate is more important on this side, right? Again, we've talked about the order of importance, kind of goes like this. So I would probably look to move there. There's some text here, which I'm not really sure what this is. Heart rate, variance analysis. Maybe these are numbers that got cut off. I'm not sure. So I'm going to ignore that one. Again, high-level numbers would have been nice somewhere. Otherwise, I like this. So it's showing me kind of the actual. Just a thick line. Love it. Dotted is the budget. Nice. And beautiful. Oh, man. Zoom charts. I'll admit I have not really used it. But I've seen it being used. And, man, yeah, they're visually really pretty. Really pretty. Awesome. So, yeah, I think that's very, very effective. So I'm trying to understand. So good visuals are intuitive. So I'm trying to understand what this green thing is. I think the green thing is kind of where we end, kind of the year total. 2 point, yeah, yeah, volume revenue. I'm trying to match this number with somewhere here, and I am not able to. So yeah, I'm not. Maybe somebody can educate me on Zoom charts, but frankly, if I'm guessing, then your audience would be guessing as well. So if you use it, it's okay, but you would have to educate them to begin with, and so anything that is not intuitive, you're gonna have to watch out for that. Well, it's not just about educating once. Hey, there might be turnover. There might be a new person who joins, and yeah, a new CEO, new CFO, and um, so yeah, I'm a little bit. What is that? So is that 15? And guys, I'm wondering about. I don't know if this data is kind of anonymized, but what is 1 through 15? Is that day? Frankly, I'm a little bit lost. Like it says daily report, but oh, is it like a daily detail? Okay, I guess so. It's not like showing a day. It's showing 15 days. Ooh, interesting. So if it's showing 15 days, which days am I looking at? So I don't know if it's like, yeah, I would probably write a DAX measure which puts that and make that the label. So based on whatever they select, if they select week 1, week 2, whatever, it shows daily sales report June 23rd to July 7th, right? It just shows it right there. So I think that would be nice. And then 1 through 15, I'm not sure, is that day, but what if is it a month boundary? Okay, I'm going to ignore that, move on. So volume, revenue, wastage, price. I think I like it. It's pretty cool. So anybody with a guess on what is this number? I feel like it's so close. Like it's showing kind of variance from the target, and red means bad. Wastage is supposed to be low. So I can almost read this one. Variance from the
Yeah, and the
target.
little green triangle pointing up means good.
Yeah. But is it talking about just the last point? I guess it is. Because here it draws this line from here. So it's not talking about the whole period, the best I can figure. It is talking about just that day. Alright. Cool. This one, kind of a breakdown, actual budget last year. Yeah, I would say it looks good. Has okay, I see some kind of the controls here. So month to date, I think definitely just showing the exact date range. Like this is from July 23rd to June 23rd to July 7th, or whatever you're showing. Obviously, that would be really nice, and that would be a simple DAX measure. And you can kind of say current, month to date, year to date. I really wonder what current does. Like I understand, like current is that like a single day? I don't know. Maybe it is. Um, a month to date is obvious. Year to date is obvious, and then it seems there are additional slicers, week 1 to 3, and you can kind of slice and dice it uh, by these ones, which seem to be the same as this list, which is okay. Which is okay. Um, although obviously, I mean, if somebody filtered on cream, then this would just be one line, which always kind of looks a little weird. Now, again, it's a choice. I like slicers because they're really obvious. They know what to do. I don't know if the Zoom charts probably is it clickable like Power BI tables? Like, can they just simply click on cream and do that? That may work, but what I've seen is that that's not always very intuitive or discoverable. Like some people don't always realize that, oh, I can click on it. Versus slicers, anybody who's used Power BI, I mean, they you get no slicers pretty quick. And even if you're new, slicers people usually can kind of figure out that, oh, I'm supposed to click this, but they may not know. So using slicers is still okay. Awesome. So any thoughts about this on the phone? Dotted line is budget. Yeah,
Yeah,
variance time.
Avi?
Yeah, go
Hi,
ahead.
hi, this is Ansgar. Um, so I see the slices as part of the report that are actionable.
Yeah.
and where interaction is required by the user.
Yeah.
Right now in a Word document, I can only guess, of course,
Yeah.
but it seems to me it's taken from other software patterns and navigation patterns and page patterns,
Hmm.
that you have a top menu and you have a side left side navigation, to get
Hmm.
certain results. So I'm not so super concerned about the top portion there because it seems that there is value in it in the orange tiles. I'm not quite sure, but that's my guess. Of course, the suggestion for the sales report date, that makes a lot of sense. That is
Yeah.
for the most important to have here to get better orientation in the report.
Hmm.
And what you said about the Zoom charts, they're usually highly interactive.
Yeah.
And so I'm guessing that when you hover over, you get some tooltip that tells you more. And when you click, then you filter, and when you select, then you filter or cross highlight.
Yeah.
Something like that will happen.
Nice.
Hmm.
So hey, I would like to. So on YouTube, if you folks have used Zoom charts, can you just type something in? Just type in Zoom or something, or yeah, type in Zoom. So Oscar, what about you? Have you used Zoom charts
Yeah, I
for your
have.
dashboards?
Yes.
What's your
For
general
for
opinion?
time series. Oh, and they were quite a notch up in the usability of the data, actually. So
Mm-hmm.
they were very responsive in terms of how additional, let's say, drill-in data came up,
Hmm.
and also um, zooming was one, of course, by the
Yeah.
name. And
Yeah.
zooming was one of the factors when there was I built time series reports, and
Yeah.
drilling from a year scope to a daily scope was a breeze.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I want to hear from you. How does the licensing work for Zoom?
Per creator, I think. That's
Mm.
the last I looked up about 4 to 6 months ago. So
Yeah.
if you have one creator, then you pay a fee of a ridiculous like 20 to 30 bucks a year.
Wow. They're
Yeah.
practically giving
And
you
when
a.
you have more people working with it, of course, then it may
Yeah.
add a little bit
So,
more.
I was under the wrong impression that it was per user, which of course I was like, oh, oh gosh, that's crazy. But of course, somebody corrected me on one of the previous sessions, like, no, it's by creator. So I
I
think
can
that's
only
a,
recommend to
yeah,
look this up because I might be wrong as well, but that's what
yeah,
I remember.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I've heard as well. So
Hmm.
yeah, Zoom charts got awesome.
Hmm.
So come on, YouTube. Nobody has used Zoom charts. Well, I mean, I haven't, so I'm not one to kind of cast stones at you. But clearly, it's really powerful, and you kind of heard from Oscar as well. Awesome. We move on to the last one, and this one is interesting. So this was sent by Aftab Sabir. Financial visualization, and this is on their website. And I'm not really sure what to make of it. For one, I don't have kind of the context. So I've worked with finance for a long time. So first impression, I have no idea what I'm looking at. And man, I have to look at this small text to try to understand. Standard Poor's 500 index stocks categorized by sectors and industries. So yeah, so I, I don't know. I think this should be bigger, much bigger. So again, that maybe is not part of the chart, but I shouldn't be left to guess what I'm looking at. I'm not as savvy with stock market or anything, but even if I was, mm, yeah, don't make me guess. Just show it right away. So I think this would have been kind of bigger. So got it. So now I'm saying size represents market cap. That kind of makes sense, and I have the sectors. So this is what is it called? Tree map, right? I think that's what it's called. So obviously they're not using Power BI. I'm pretty sure. Oops, what happened here? Tree map, yeah, tree map it is. But yeah, we're just gonna hey visualization of visualization. So I would like to see what I'm looking at. Well, now that I understand after reading the small text, so that one is market cap and it's organized by sector, technology, services. I mean that's the advantage of tree map. It can encode a lot of information. So that's good. And I can see S&P 500 overall, the makeup of the market. I think it would have been nice if, so you see the, oh, oops, I don't want to do that. I don't know, maybe the gap between these sectors was a little bit wider, or some other way. Uh, so they stood apart a little bit more. That would have made it easier for me. Right now, I have to hunt where the line is. I have to look very carefully because, again, the line is really thin. So technology is maybe easy, and here you get the advantage at the top level that the labels make the gap to be wider. You see how that makes your job easier, but on the vertical side, it's a little tricky, and I have to like hunt, like yeah. So it's like this guy, right? So it's a little bit tricky. So maybe that could be a little bit better. And then otherwise, the hover obviously looks beautiful. So if I hover over it, it can see that. I wonder if there's a drill down. There's no drill down. That's okay. That would have been really nice as well. Well, I'm interested in Amazon. Take me there, right? So not just show me the hover, but when I click on it, then take me there. I'm not even sure Power BI can quite do it that way. I guess it can. Yeah, you can have a hover and a, what is it called? Drill through. So that would be nice. So yeah, I think overall good stuff. Legend at the bottom, so it's showing kind of 1 day performance, and green is there well. So yeah, I mean tree map. It's pretty much a tree map, and yeah, tree maps can be quite effective for showing data, and I think that's one of the good examples of using a tree map. Whew. All right, folks. So we are at the end of the ones that were pre-submitted. I'm just gonna check really quick if something new came in. Or something might have come in. We have Robert Kersey, Hirschworthen, and Eduardo. You sent us an email, but there's nothing attached to it. And oh, Juan sent in. Let's go to Juan. All right. All right. So Juan, let's see if you're on the phone first of all. Oh, yes, you are. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Hey, turn on your webcam if you can. Can I unmute you?
Hi, Avi.
Hey.
Hello. Hey.
Are you in a spot where you can turn your webcam on?
I didn't bring it
Okay,
with
no
me.
worries.
Sorry.
All right, man. So let's do this.
Pretty basic. One of my first dashboards or reports.
All right, mate. I'm impressed with the first one. So tell us about this.
Well, it's a sales dashboard with the sales sheet or bosses down in like buttons and the sectors divided by years in the first part of the row.
Got it. Got it. Sales dashboard divided by sectors.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And just tell me a little bit more. Which sector do you typically work with?
Uh, I think it was governmental
All right.
or government.
Yeah. And is that just the data set you're using, or do you typically work with the government as well?
No, it was a company data set.
Got it. Okay, got it. So this one is using government data, but typically you work with companies. Just curious,
Yeah,
any specific type of companies?
it was a telco.
Telecom?
Yeah,
Telco? Okay, awesome.
yeah.
All right, great. Yeah. So, well, it definitely looks clean. I like that look. So, yeah, the white space, I often say, is kind of the best element. And you're certainly following the layout that I talk about, which is kind of high level numbers up top. And I love seeing that. Just don't let me guess. Just put the numbers up top. Total clients. I think this is total value in sales. What is the next one? Total value in sales. What is that one?
In comparison with the year that passed,
Got it.
I
Yeah.
forgot that word. Sorry.
Past year.
The last year.
Okay,
Yeah, last
perfect.
year.
Yep. Awesome. Great. Um, uh, got it. Total clients. Yep. Total value in sales comparison with last year. Um, and And yeah, so here you may look into kind of the precision. So obviously, if it's showing 3 million, last year is
Yeah,
showing 3 million, maybe show a little more detail. Like if you showed
I,
one more decimal point, like 3.4, then
I
people can
think in
say
that part
3.4,
my
3.2.
DAX was wrong in that formula.
Ah, okay. So are you using DAX to show it like this?
No, the right one.
The right one. Oh, okay, got it. All right,
That
but
one.
still, you might need a little more precision. So folks, if I go to Power BI, like if you look at this one, and by the way, this is not. Somebody could call me out on this, and he said, Avi, if the number is 29 million, nobody ever shows it like the dollar, or anybody who is being around finance, they don't show it like that. They would show it like, I don't know, like 29 comma 943K or something like that, right? So that's kind of my bad, but Power BI does give you kind of controls here, and let me see if I can find them. Yeah, display units. So right now it's none, so that's why it's showing kind of whole detail. But you can do auto, thousands, millions, billions, and typically what I've seen is that, yeah. So again, if it's 29 million, you don't really want to show the dollar, because who cares about if it's 847, 845? Nobody does. But you want to show kind of enough precision that the audience wants. So this one might be shown in kind of thousands. So it might show. Actually, let's try that. So this one, I'm going to change it to kind of thousands, and this one, let's change it to thousands as well. And then variance. So variance, sometimes you might need more precision depending on if the variance is closed, but in this case it kind of works, right? So that's how you kind of do it. So yeah, so in here, so I know you're working with sample data set, but maybe a little bit more precision as well. So that's great. But yeah, I love seeing high level numbers at the top. And after that, I think that generally it's pretty good. I mean, I always talk about kind of breakdown and trends, and you have that, and it looks good. Now, of course, what I'll probably do is that. So I know Ansgar was talking about how in a lot of software the navigation is at the top and on the left, which, but I would say, hey, this is not a software. This is dashboard we are designing. So man, I can't help it but say that, yep, you gotta emphasize the data pixels. So I'll just swap the position. I'll put all the slicers on this side. That's the
Okay.
only change I would
And
kind of make.
maybe the table, the last table, the last
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
This one, this guy
yeah,
right here.
it kind of it remarks the products or the services, but I don't. Well, I was like insecure to put it there, or maybe in just one more bigger space.
Um, well, if you're gonna keep it as a table, that's the beauty of tables. I love tables. So typically the elements that I use are really, really simple, right? So I use bar or column charts, line charts, and then table elements. Are there only three? Maybe only three. And table elements do have include tables, they include matrix, and they include card display. So that has three of those. But that's all I use. And the good thing about table is that, man, they are extremely compact and very effective in conveying pretty precise information. So I think it looks good. I mean, could you make it slightly bigger? Maybe. Of course, you can also see how it looks like as a column chart or a bar chart. Just see how it
Okay.
looks. And of course
Okay.
that becomes a little tricky because you're gonna have to see how it fits in. It may fit in as a column chart, so you can just try that. And again, it depends on your audience's goal as well. Like, would they like seeing a precise number, and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, of course, the advantage with the table is that I think you do have some space here, so you can do more. So I think it's deposit sales. Like so
Yes.
this is, I don't know if it makes sense to do A minus B. You can show kind of that number as well. If you know, so
Yeah.
obviously when we're doing like actual budget, then we can say variance, which is A minus B, but you know, actual minus budget, and then we can do like variance percentage. If that makes sense, you can add those things as well, and take it to the next level and color code them. So if it's variance is, you know, kind of negative, then you can kind of make it red. That way it pops out. Um,
Okay.
you know, so yeah,
Conditional for me.
exactly, yep. So I think so yeah, I think tables can be really effective, and I think they're very compact, and that's why it gives you kind of more room. If you just shifted this a little bit over here, then you might have room to do add other elements if you need to, right?
Okay.
So yeah, so I think that looks good. Um, So this is I would maybe try this just as a simple kind of line chart instead of
Okay.
what is it called, like an area chart. Although I will say it kind of looks pretty. I'm trying to read it. So this is Carlos Stella, Eduardo Cornejara. Yeah. Are these like different providers?
Bosses
All right. Okay.
of
So
in
okay,
of
got it.
different areas. Yes.
Got it. So that's kind of year over year. That's great. And the last one is by month, and it's showing me. Ah, okay. Yeah, this is really interesting. So 100% chart. Mm,
Yes. How the participation of their department uh, adds to the sales.
yeah. It'll be interesting to see this as a kind of a line chart as well. Just try it. See how that one
Okay.
looks and compare it with this one, and see which one kind of conveys more information.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah. Well, uh,
You don't like the pie charts.
thank you. I
I
was
know.
like, oh, should I say?
You
Yeah. So,
know,
and yeah, it's so we were talking about maps earlier, right? And Kenneth talked about how people kind of sometimes love maps, and you got to give them the comfort factor. For better or worse, pie charts, and what is this called? This one is a donut chart, right? They have the same thing. People kind of like them, and yeah, it does have some comfort factor, and yeah, I frankly I get kind of torn as well because again, I mean Stephen Few, the guy that I really kind of look up to, he's like, oh yeah, I don't know pie charts and all that stuff. But I mean, I have used definitely pie charts in my thing. But I mean, hey, beautiful. So this is awesome, and yeah, I think you're off to a great start. It's great. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
sharing this one, Kenneth. Yeah, go for it.
Two short ones. Um, this is a beautiful chart, but it does raise the issue of how not just what pixels you have, but it's really heavily overloaded in terms of bright
Mm-hmm.
primary colors. And I think it can kind of
Oh, hold on,
overwhelm
guys.
the information uh, to have so many bright, where all the
That's
elements are
yeah.
bright. You
That
know,
that's that's a great point. In fact, what I'll say is that so Power BI's new default layout, it uses very bright colors, doesn't it? How do I go to the color palette? Let's try it here. And oh man, data colors. There you go. Oh shoot. Let's try this one. So this was their earlier palette, and this was somewhat muted, but the new palette that is the default is is yeah, it's quite garish, if I may say. And man, how do I?
well,
Oh,
that's the
switch to
kind
the.
of thing that you build in because it's great for the salesman
I
when they're
know,
selling the product. But
maybe,
if you're actually going to use it,
yeah,
going back to few or man,
yeah,
you bright colors, you might use them as sparingly for
exactly.
emphasis,
Oh,
right?
Ken,
But
I
if you
couldn't have
just
said it better.
put them
Exactly,
everywhere like
exactly.
wallpaper,
Yep,
it's like
it's overloads the senses. Yeah. So,
hitting
yeah,
the the so it's just a consideration, and it's
colors.
not
Okay.
something that anyone possibly would ever notice, but it means the people looking at your charts will sort of be,
mm-hmm,
without knowing it, be more comfortable
yeah,
I think
because the chart will be easier on their eyes.
cool.
can I add?
Yeah,
You
Um,
can.
yeah, Oscar, go ahead.
so I looked this up for my last work. What color schemes would make most sense because I was
Mm-hmm.
also hit by the shrieking colors of the new
Yeah.
scheme, and I think it's fine in some situations, but there is a gap between let's say, visual designers who know, oh, what this is good for, and the ones who are using it, and that is maybe by the democratization of explorative data analysis, that you get people who don't have the skill to build
Mm-hmm.
reports with real good color schemes that are effective. And
Yeah.
I looked up, well, what can you do? How do you find the best colors for your report? And I found a visual designer who is into data visualization, and her name is Lisa Charlotte Rost. I pasted that link there, and there is a whole page of why colors are what they are, and what how you can compose different combinations there.
Mm-hmm.
And there are also a few links on that page that guide you to, um, let's say, you need a color scheme with a certain feature, let's say for colorblind or something like that.
Yeah.
So, or should display well on an LCD screen. And with those attributes, you can play even on those color palette
Yeah.
creators. So, and those links are in the article that I listed in our chat here on Zoom.
All right, nice. But would you
Uh-huh.
would you agree with kind of the sentiment that I mean, so the general color palette should be muted, and these strong colors, well, you keep them in reserve. It's kind of like, kind of
Yeah,
keeping an
I
ace up
agree.
your sleeve. So and you use them in reserve for highlighting stuff which needs to stand out, like, oh my god, there's trouble here, and then you kind of color it blue or pink or whatever.
Absolutely. Yes,
Okay,
I
cool.
agree. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Hey, it's pretty
Um,
cool to hear that you've kind of delved into that.
hmm
I have kind of stayed away from it.
hmm
But clearly, that's. I mean, I'm kind of a little bummed that, that they made the default one, which has a somewhat garish colors.
Yeah.
I wish the default was a bit nicer, but they do have a few other options, and certainly there's lots of capability here to kind of create your own themes and set your own color palette. And now Oscar is talking about that, and
Can you create a custom theme and export it?
Yeah, in a
uh,
JSON file you can, yes. You can import a theme.
yeah,
It might be interesting for some of us to create a couple of muted schemes that we could make
yeah,
available that people could, because it's just like saying you need to
yeah,
turn off automatic relationships. You could just teach people you
yeah,
need to switch to a more muted theme, and
yeah,
they could do it without really understanding
yeah,
exactly why they're doing it, but that's a good thing to do. But it needs to be something they can just import. They're not
yeah.
going to make it up themselves.
Yeah, so the best guy I know is Mike Carlo. He's pretty amazing. His site PowerBI.tips.
hmm
Um, yeah, he has had, as far as I know, some of the best tools available to create themes and, well, I guess download themes and so forth. So check out. Oh yeah, so there we go. Kind of his palette and all that stuff. So yeah, it's pretty user friendly. Well, at least far better than writing your own XML file. That would be pretty insane. So PowerBI.tips, check that out, Mike Carlo. But
Okay,
yeah,
thanks.
awesome.
Avi, I had a question when you were telling about the precision. Because on
Yeah,
a tile, you're
yeah,
right, sometimes this is just distracting to have too much precision. Otherwise, on the
yeah.
other hand, on the tooltip, let's say you go into your line chart
Mm-hmm.
and the grid lines are not really telling where exactly you are. They're too widely spaced, and the custom visuals don't have a lot of customization available there, how
Hmm.
what the grid looks like. So the tooltip is a very powerful help for precise numbers. And I noticed, let's say,
Yeah.
what we saw in Juan's um,
Uh huh.
visualization, there is, let's say, the total sales overall, and there's a total sales for that year, as I um, summarized for that year. So then you want to see what was it in that year. Let's say you hover over 2018, and you
Mm-hmm.
want to have the real precision. Would you then go recreate the same measure twice, once, and assign it one precision, well, have the
Mm.
same once with high precision and once with low precision and then display the low precision one on the tile?
Well, so that's not how I'm doing this style. I'm not
Uh,
changing the measure. In this, the visualization lets me choose the precision, right?
oh, in the visual. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's how I'm doing it. But it's
Okay,
possible that you
yeah,
run into a
right.
scenario where the visualization doesn't let you do it or something else is going on. I
Yes.
have created measures where the measure itself is kind of locked down and it'll say, I show in thousands and it adds the letter K to it. It gets a little tricky, and frankly, even this one, it gets a little tricky for me because if I say display unit thousands, it works right now. But what happens if somebody clicks on, let's say, clothing?
Good point. Yes.
So that's the biggest challenge that
Hmm.
I face, and right now it's kind of still working. But sometimes what happens is well, let's actually go deeper. I think we can drill down here. So if somebody goes to clothing and say socks, so I'm trying to break it, and you see how now it's kind of broken. I mean, obviously, if these were the numbers that I was showing, hey, I don't want to show 5K. I want to show kind of one decimal or something like that. Let's try one decimal. So I would want to show. Uh, uh, let's see how that looks. Yeah, so see, it went from 5K to 4.9 5.4, and it's so much more insightful, right? So sometimes I've been kind of stuck there because I can choose a precision for the visual, but then I have no control over how they're going to filter. And even if I check all the scenarios right now, I don't know how those scenarios are going to be in the future, right? I mean, what if a new category comes up which is really small or something? So that's been a bit challenging. In like an extreme case, if I really wanted to nail it, then I would build even like I don't know, like smarter visuals where it'll check what is the number that I'm trying to show, and it'll say, oh, if I'm trying to show this number, like if it's just 5,000, or if it's less than 10,000, then show it in maybe in absolute units, right? Yeah, then don't show in thousands, just show the actual number without decimal, of course, right? But if it's more than 10,000, then show this with the one decimal, something like that. So you can do that, but again, you have to be careful because, man, adding complexity to your model is tricky because you don't just pay that cost once; you pay that cost forever. So I'm always a little, kind of well aware of that for sure, right? So because once you add complexity to the model, well, every time you come back to it, every time they bring you back, hey, can you change this in the model or something, and then you look at it and go, what is that? Why did I do that? Or, well, assuming you put good comments, but you will have to spend some time understanding it again. Oh, I did it here this way, and of course, if somebody else takes it over, they have to go through the same journey. So, in very rare case, I've built a measure like that, but if you ask me, it's usually not worth the effort there. But you could do that. You could do that if you needed. All right, so we had some more submissions. We got Juan's. Let's see. Who else do we have? So Eduardo Rodriguez, I got your email, but it had nothing attached. And then maybe we can do this in order if they were submitted. So first I got Robert Kersey. Robert, thanks for sending it in. If you are watching this on YouTube, then give us a shout out. And hey, if you're a student, then you can always call in using the Talk Power BI Special Pass. All right, so let's look at Robert. Robert, how do I do this? Okay, there we go. Robert Kersey's. All right, first impression, I like it. Looks really cool. Looks really clean. We were talking about the color palette, and I think the color palette is beautiful. I like consistency. There are not that many colors there, which is awesome. And that's all good. Are there multiple pages? There are. Okay, so we'll save those for later. Cool. So again, sometimes when I don't have people on the phone, like our Learn Power BI students, I have to assume the context. So he's explaining what the report is a little bit too much. So usually I don't do that for operational reports because this is something that they use kind of all the time. But maybe he's sending it to somebody for the first time or something. So company overview. Okay, cool. So that's what the page is about. Analysis of total company, able to drill through to many other reports. It's kind of sad that he has to mention this. So drill through is one thing that I'm not ecstatic about in Power BI, and again, if you look at visualization in general, if you look at user interface design in general, I'm trying to make this thing bigger. How do I do this? Oh, there we go. All right. There are two things. One is discoverability, and the other is it intuitive? Is it easy to use? Can they first of all discover it? And again, ideally, they shouldn't need somebody to tell them that there's drill down. They should just be able to figure it out right away, right? So, and for instance, and it doesn't do that. You know how in hyperlinks, if I move my mouse over a hyperlink, my mouse changes, right? It changes to the hand icon. So you see how awesome that is. That makes it discoverable. That just gives you a small hint. And hey, human beings, we're pretty smart guys, right? We just need a small hint. But if you notice that, imagine if the mouse cursor even here, it changed to a hand icon or something. It would tell me, oh, I can do something. I can interact with this element, and then it'll be more discoverable. Right now, I think often when I click on something for a new audience who's never seen Power BI, they always go, whoa, because they have no idea what's coming, which is a good thing and a bad thing, right? So again, I think discoverability-wise, even with this one, that would be nice. And frankly, I'm not a developer. I don't know what it takes to be able to change the mouse cursor, but that would be so cool, right? That would be so cool. And imagine the same way if I had a drill down, the mouse cursor changed, but this time not to a hand, but something else. Wouldn't that be cool? I don't know what the icon would be to indicate that it's a drill down. Would it be a drill? No, that'd be too cheesy, but something else. And I'll say, if you this is something, you can click on it, and if you click on it, it drills down, right? So of course, how do we do this? Man, isn't there like a drill down mode? The fact that I'm struggling with this is I think proof enough. Weren't they used to be? I think they did away with that. The drill. Hey guys, what am I missing here? Wasn't there like a drill down mode where if you clicked, it was supposed to be for mobile mobile devices, because on mobile, maybe it's changed now. Maybe mobile is smart and automatically does drill down. But anyway, so with drill down, it's unfortunately not very discoverable, and I don't find it intuitive either. I always struggle with it, man. I mean, kind of 4 buttons. Why does it 4 buttons? I remember talking to a Mac user, and I was trying to use a Mac. I've never really used a Mac, and I felt so frustrated that there was only one mouse button. I'm like, gosh, why isn't there a right mouse click? And the guy said, he was a developer, and he said, that's just poor design. If you design it well, then you're not going to need the second mouse button. That's the same way. Like, do we really need 4 buttons to control drill down? I don't know. I'm not a designer, so I can't help you guys, but I can tell you that it feels a little off. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. There you go. Now, so yeah, it's kind of a pity that you have to tell that, some reports have drilled through. It should be discoverable by them. Let's move past that. And I think, so again, we've talked about data pixels. You want your pixels, so pixels are like money. And pixels in the prime area cost a lot more money. So you want to use that money well, right? You want to use that for a good purpose. So the top part is the most important, and kind of this general part is the most important, and then this is the least important. So yeah, if you're spending money here, man, might as well make good use of it. And the brighter the pixel, you have to pay more for that. So man, you got to be careful. If you want to make something bright, it better be by design. And it's usually something that's going to need somebody's attention, right? So if you want something to be in flashing red, well, that better need my attention right now. It's like a burning building or something, right? I mean, it has to be something like that. So again, brighter pixel, you pay more money, and depending on the location, you pay more money. So this one was Robert Kersey. And so Robert is paying a lot of money for this, but man, he's not getting that much value out of it. This is not data pixel. It's not going to make data. So I would just spend less money. So even if you do need that, there's no need. It has to be this bright blue thing in there. Just have it in light gray. I mean, this is not data. So non-data pixel, your first goal is to eliminate them. Can I get rid of them? And a lot of times you can. You should think about that. That should be your first thought. And the next is, if I can't get rid of that, can I minimize the non-data pixel? So in this case, if you can't get rid of it, at least minimize it. So this is interesting. Oh, so I know what it is. So this one, I think, is a DAX measure. And it is dynamic, I think, I hope. It is that depending on what you selected, it's going to show like the New York storefront. Or it's going to show the bike product or something like that. I think that's what it is. Otherwise, it'll be kind of silly to say all storefronts, all products. So I'll assume that's what that is. Here. And this is, this is an advanced trick, skill, where you're saying, what do you want to see? Do you want to see sales? Do you want to see volume? Do you want to see was the shipment on time? And you can choose your metric. And that can be really powerful, right? So, really, really powerful. And you can have a long list of them, depending on, but don't go overboard. Whatever only makes sense, right? But, kind of sales is a good one, kind of volume sometimes I would want to see. There is a downside to that. And quiz for you guys, if you can tell me, what is the downside to that? It's extremely powerful. I can have one graph and you can see sales, you can see volume, you can see da-da-da, you can see whatever, shipment on time or shipment days, da-da-da, and you can have a long list, like 9, 10. Don't go crazy. But you could, and that's powerful, but what's the disadvantage of that? Let me know. So cool. I really think that, again, you've heard me. I mean, you pay more for these pixels. Do I really want to pay that money for the slicer? I would rather swap this. So put the slicer here and spend more money for my data. That's your data is your hero, right? You want to make your data shine. And maybe this can be a little bit bigger. All right. But again, kind of all right, cool. So that's that stuff. And these ones. So again, gosh, I can tell that Robert is well, it's pretty comfortable around Power BI. So this one is, I imagine, bookmarks, which are, well, I know it took me some time to figure that out. Of course, there were a new feature as well. So this is good. So he's using bookmarks, which can be really cool. I imagine this is going to give some information about the report. I'm not really sure what this one is going to do. Maybe this one is going to open up a filter panel, which lets them select storefront products. Or sometimes what I've also seen is that people put an icon just to clear all filters or to reset the report to the way it was. Either of those uses is usually a good use. I would imagine that this one is doing opening up a filter panel, which is awesome, which is like incredible. And refresh, I'm not really sure. I mean, that looks like the refresh icon, but does that really kick off a refresh of the data? I wouldn't know how to do that necessarily unless you kick it off a Power App, which goes to a Power Flow, but I'm not really sure. Somebody help me out. Is there really a way to put the button on there which refreshes the data? I don't know. So I'll skip that one. Cool. So I'll say that this graph looks a little squished. So I'll just play around and see if I can make it taller. If it was this tall, it doesn't have to be that wide. Maybe that would help, right? Because then people cannot read through. CY is current year, PY is prior year, PPY is prior to the prior year, which is okay. I mean, frankly, if I can avoid kind of acronyms, I like kind of spelling things out. If you can do that, that's okay. Yeah, maybe at some space I would say CY, like put a text somewhere. CY is current year, PY is prior year. Just, I mean, who knows, right? I mean, you don't want to... Sometimes people hesitate. They would never ask, but because they would feel foolish. Like, oh, everybody knows. But in their mind, they would be wondering. And again, imagine like a new employee, somebody stepped in, or somebody just having a bad day. Like, oh my gosh, what is PY? Anyway, right? So you can simplify it. It's good, I think. So this one is interesting. Yeah, So yeah, I like the ordering. So time should always be kind of left to right because that's how we perceive it. So yeah, I think this is good. We can kind of see how each month And of course, so I'm assuming this is dashboard by design. So you can show this information in so many different ways. Just simple a column chart versus a line chart would convey almost totally different kinds of information and lead to potentially very different insights. People would perceive it very differently. And go ahead and try it. If you have a graph like this, show it as a column chart and see, what jumps out at me? And do it as a line chart and see what jumps out at you. So in this case, let's actually study it, right? Let's just, and again, guys, I mean, some of it does help to read up on the science of this. Some of this can be intuitive. So remember how I asked, and Kenneth responded to that one. I just said, hey, looking at the Turkey map, what can you tell? And Kenneth said, oh, I see this and I see this. That's it, right? So just look at this, and sometimes you can do the squint test, right? Just don't look at it too carefully. What pops out at you? That's it. That's what you're looking for. Well, what pops out at me is January. Why? Why? Well, because clearly, and that's where column charts are so effective, because man, we're really good at reading this precisely, because this one has the biggest difference. You see how, I mean, how the difference is kind of small, right? But I think I picked it up right. I think that is the biggest difference. So that's why January pops up. So you see how this is working, and just see this graph as a line chart and see what pops up then. So the overall rule is that for a column or bar chart, it emphasizes individual values and comparison of individual values. Line chart emphasizes the trend, right? So which way is it trending? People are focused on that. So if you want to emphasize the trend, look, this year we're trending up, that year we was trending, something like that. If you emphasize the trend, then use a line chart. Otherwise, you use a column or bar chart. Cool. So, and then we have a storefront. So again, you've heard me talk about it. Oops, how do I get rid of that? High level numbers at the top, some trend breakdown, which is exactly what Robert is doing. So brilliant. Love it, love it, love it. What is this this thing at the bottom? So I think that one is blurred out. Oh, those are names. And again, the graph I think is a little squished. So the graph at the bottom is almost completely useless, I would say. And again, just look at it. So again, some things are science, some things are, kind of intuitive. So you can say that, is it working? What conclusion can they draw? What do I want them to, what do I want them to focus on? Yeah, right? So you're kind of giving them a guided tour. So I feel that one is squished. So maybe these two graphs can be like taller, and they don't have to be as wide. But the layout, the mix of the elements, I love it. High level numbers, breakdown and trends. High level numbers, this one is a breakdown by storefront, and this one is a trend. This one I think is a breakdown. I don't know, by category. Great, right? So and then I'll come back to map. I'm saving that one, and then a little bit of details. All right, just brilliant. I mean, just a beautiful thing. What I would say is that what I would try is this. So again, trend in my mind is something different. So what I'll do for this one by month, that one is a trend. So I'll try to do a line chart, right? So, because that's line chart showcases trend better. So this is by month. And then this one is a breakdown by storefront, breakdown by category. So again, I mean, if I forget about all the other elements, I would probably do breakdown 1 here, breakdown 2 here, and then the monthly trend over there, and then the detail table over there, something like that. And again, detail usually comes last. So remember, the way we scan is this way. So detail should usually come last. Why? Because, well, you want them to understand the big picture before they start looking at the details. If you put the detail table right here, man, I'm kind of stuck there. So table, it's not intuitive. I can't read it like a line chart. I have to spend a lot of time there, and I don't want you to be stuck there trying to understand it. I want you to get the high level picture and then slowly, right? So again, it's a guided journey. It's dashboard by design. What journey do you want to take them through? So I want them to understand the high level number, understand the trends, understand the breakdowns, and then dive into the details and say, aha, all right, well, now I want precision. Like, oh, this is 0.3%. Why is this red, and so forth. So the placement, I think, could use a little bit of work. So map, I'm not sure what happened. It doesn't seem to be working. Percentage change, like nothing seems really colored. Maybe that's because of the way the screenshot was captured. Maps, I'm not a huge fan anyway. I would, and again, whenever you do map, just try it once, mates. Mates, I guess that's the word. just try it as a column chart and just see. And again, just for one, you can go with an intuitive one. Like, what does a column chart tell me, right? And again, column chart would tell you right away that this state had the biggest percentage change, right? I mean, you would see the first graph. Like, imagine this was a percentage change. Ignore this one. If that was the percentage change graph, I would know right away that, oh yeah, it's Washington, right? I mean, I read the label and it's like, yep, I know exactly what it is. So again, those can be really precise. Maps, less precise and take more space. So what's ideal for dashboards? What kind of visuals are we looking for? We're looking for the ones that are precise, that convey information precisely, but do that in a very space efficient manner. Because space for us, this is real estate. We're paying for every pixel, every dollar. So if something conveys precisely but takes up half of your screen, man, I'm spending a lot of money for that. It's money, right? Okay, cool. So, but I mean, overall, again, beautiful. Love the color palette. So this was a great segue into this. Yeah, and man, I can see that this is at a different level. He's letting them choose metric. He's using bookmarks, which is awesome, great. But again, folks, I mean, you don't have to start out that way. Almost every single dashboard that I build for my clients, the first one, looks like this. I don't know, with a creature of habit. I love it. Simple is good, and it works, right? So it doesn't have any of the bells and whistles, just the simple stuff, the power pattern. All right, so let's see.
Ask a question?
Oscar, go for it.
Yeah, the selection of bar versus column charts.
Yeah.
Because, well, you just showed the other report. There's one that is column and one that is bar chart. And I think I read somewhere, I don't remember where, that our horizontal scanning is better than the vertical scanning, and that you can achieve more effective comparisons in a horizontal bar chart rather than a column chart.
Wait, this is a column chart, right?
That's a column chart, yes.
So,
And the horizontal ones are the bar charts.
Yeah, so the bar chart is going to be like this. But
Yeah.
But wait, so yeah, this one. So let's try it here.
Exactly. You have one there. Mm-hmm.
So let's remove budget for once, and let's see this. Oops. Oh, dang it. Man, that's hard working with sample data. And let's change it to a column chart. So if you're saying our horizontal scanning is better, which I would agree, because again, I mean, if we read English that way, so we are trained to kind of scan horizontally, I would say column chart is better, because in column chart, I'm scanning it horizontally to kind of compare them, right? I mean, for me, this is horizontal scanning. For this one, to kind of compare these values, my eyes have to move vertically.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I think that's a good point. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, so what you just shared, I may have known it intuitively. I no idea. That was new for me. I never heard it being explained that way, and I think that's brilliant. So folks, that was awesome. I want you to hold on to that. I had a few other things which I will share about this stuff, but I didn't know this one. I had never realized that. I think that's brilliant. So I think, from what Ansgar said, so again, if you look at column chart, so let's go with that one. I think it's a pretty safe assumption that our horizontal scanning is better than vertical scanning, because again, all our lives, every time reading a book, all the books we read, we scan that way. So in column charts, we're scanning horizontally. In a bar chart, we're scanning vertically. So this one we're saying is probably your go-to. But what are the other criteria that I look for?
Avi,
Yeah, go for it.
depending on how you lay the the one that goes up and down,
Yeah.
in some ways it's giving you the shape of the distribution.
And let's first talk about.
Whereas for me, the bars going from side to side give me a much sharper idea of comparison.
Yeah.
And when they're going up and down, I tend to it tells
harder.
me more about like if you draw it, little
Yeah.
slope over it, how my values are distributed across the whole data set.
Yeah.
I don't get that from the
Yeah.
ones that go from side to side. But
Man. Okay. So let me share some other thoughts and we'll come back to this. And frankly, it's funny. I don't think I've ever thought like this deep about column and jump bar chart. Well, actually, I have, but I never got to the kind of stuff we were talking about now, which is weird. And frankly, yeah. So this is in our course. Let me see if I can kind of hunt through. Or maybe I should open the file. So what I generally say is that I look for a few things. So again, obviously, I'm trying to fit in the column or bar chart in a bigger dashboard. I have other elements there. So if I have more of a tall space available to me, so imagine everything else is filled out, right? And I only have a tall space. When obviously, if I have a tall space, then kind of the bar chart, I prefer that, right? So that's one. If I have more of a wide space, then I prefer a column chart, right? So that's one thing. And the other one was, let's see if I have that here, is sometimes I want comparisons to be made, which is maybe in the next lesson. Maybe it is in the next lesson. Let's try that. So, oh yeah. So of course, in there I also talk about scrolling. Like sometimes if you put something kind of horizontal versus vertical. Oops, sorry, I zoomed in. Then so in this case, horizontal there's no scrolling, but the same exact dimension. But if I put it vertical, there is scrolling. So so yeah. So and again, that goes to frankly the same thing that I was saying earlier. If it's a wider space, then column chart. But I want to talk about comparison. Yeah, this is brilliant. Comparison. So if I have things which are side by side, like horizontally, and I want those to be kind of compared, not necessarily compared, maybe correlated. There's something going on, right? So kind of sales cost variance. I want people to be able to kind of see them side by side. Then of course I would use a kind of a bar chart. You see how it works, right? And if instead of being horizontally, if they were laid out vertically, then I would use a column chart because that makes comparison easy. Let me see if I can find that. Vertical. Oh yeah, there we go. Brilliant. This is good. There we go. So if they were laid out, if the things that I wanted people to connect and correlate are kind of vertically, right? So now sales month is not kind of here, here, and here. It is kind of vertically, right? So sales is there. Then of course you can see column chart, right? So this one is kind of obvious, but those are the things that I would consider. And one other thing that I would consider is that sometimes, depending on the shape and the space, the labels show better on one or the other, and so I weigh that. But frankly, I hadn't thought about what Ansgar said, and I think Ken is kind of echoing the same sentiment. Is that frankly the column chart is better, and I think Ansgar got exactly right that it has to do with the way we're trained to scan, which I do know that we scan pretty much left to right. So I would say at this point that your default should be column charts. And if you have one of those other exceptions that I talked about, where you have more of a tall space or something like that, or your elements are arranged, and you're thinking about comparison, then you may use a bar chart. But I think that would be like an exception. The same way when I say that default should be one direction relationship like this. If you have a bidirectional, or if you have a dotted line, well, it's an exception. You better be able to explain it. So wow, I had not thought about that way. So Ansgar, Kenneth, thanks to both of you. For bringing that up. Wow, this has been good. All right, folks. So let's look at some of the other pages here. So these ones are pretty detailed. So this one is a new visual. I forget what it's called. Help anybody? What is it called? Decomposition tree. Oh man, I wish they did a sexier name for that. I guess that's maybe that's the right name. That's what the industry uses. But this one is so awesome. Decomposition reminds me of composting bin or something. Yeah. So yeah, unfortunate name. I think this one is so awesome. So yeah, I mean nothing common there. I mean this one is pretty much all decomposition. Well, maybe one thing in common. This graph kind of looks a little weird. Maybe it is in place as really a slicer where you want people to kind of click on February and be able to see that. Uh, but yeah, I'm not too sure about that. Maybe just put a slicer. I mean, they've already seen a monthly trend, so they kind of have that already. Um, all right. Okay. So you know what? Let's switch over to something else. The last one that you've gotten, which is who was after Robert? It was not. Oh, there we go. Harshvardhan. All right. Nice. Oh well. Okay, he got it up and running. Okay, so first impression. Mm, Man, I feel like the colors are a bit overwhelming. So guys, this is what we were talking about, where you want your data to be the star, and yeah, color. We've talked about color palette, and yeah, they can be too much of a good thing. Let's just say that. So we do get overwhelmed by colors. And imagine playing a game of cards and having that ace up your sleeve. You kind of lose that because if you're using muted colors and there's not like color overload, then you can use bright colors to really draw attention. But frankly, even this bright red isn't really drawing my attention right now. I had to find it. It took me a second because my first impression was frankly to kind of, well, there's a lot going on. So I think the color palette maybe can be slightly muted. And again, imagine if you're paying real money for coloring each of these pixels, right? So and again, you're paying more money for these pixels, less money for the ones over here, and the brighter the pixel is, the more money you're paying. How would you spend your money? Well, so again, you either eliminate or minimize the non-data pixel. So of course, we're spending a lot of money here. Man, that was like money out the door, out the window. So can we minimize that? Do we really need this background? And what's the most valuable element in dashboard design, in visualization? The most valuable element is white space because, and again, I don't know, either you pay nothing for it, it's zero, or maybe you pay very little. Let's say you pay very little. That's the least. So white space is the most effective. And if you want to differentiate things, so that's what a background does, right? Background is one way to differentiate, to have something stand out. But it takes a lot of money, a lot more money. Because again, brighter pixels, you're coloring all these pixels and you're paying for each pixel. That's how I want you to think about visualization design. You don't have to pay that much money because often white space can be equally as effective. And I would say that even if you remove the background, there is enough white space here to do that. And again, even if white space doesn't work, then you don't need to color the whole background. You can do a thin, really thin. Let's try a thin line. Really thin. Well, that wasn't thin, but really thin gray line, and that's it. Less is more. So yeah, and things like that. So again, I would look at kind of the coloring of this, coloring of this. Does it need to be colored? It doesn't need to be colored. And I'm not really sure what's going on with the slicer. I'm not. Maybe that was colored to send it to me. I'm not, I don't think they need to be colored either. So I would take all of that out. If we do take all of that out, and I kind of like the dashboard. For one, it's pretty simple. In fact, it's very bold in that way. I think I'm still partial to seeing actual numbers. I'm partial to that. I like just putting, just kind of numbers up top, big numbers. Frankly, I'm not sure what Stephen Fee would say about that. Yeah, I don't know. So so maybe those are not needed in every case. This one is kind of a version of a pie chart, and again, it looks pretty. People like it, they love it. The gauge, target progress. But yeah, and again, I mean, I feel torn because I know. I mean, I've used pie charts, but Stephen Fee says no, so sometimes it gets stuck. So yeah, so this one is a little debatable, but I would say that it seems to be the most important metric, and that has been put right at the most important position. So good stuff there, good stuff there. And then of course we have kind of a few breakdown and so forth. And I would say this feels like maybe a mock-up, I would say, of a real report they're going to design. So let's that's what I'm going to assume. Context. Yep. So big important number at the top, and I don't know, maybe just show the number like target, actual, and then color it red or green, something like that. Try that at least, right? See how that works. And then we break it up by sales by quarter, and this one is breakdown by something else. I'm not sure what that something is. I guess it will show up on the, actually, it's funny that it took me this while to realize that this is most likely a mock-up. Some breakdown, and stacked bars are a little tricky. So again, it has to be dashboard by design, guys, not dashboard by accident. Not stacked bar because well, I just put it there, I thought it looked good. No, I mean, what you convey with a stacked chart is different. So is it intentional? What are you trying to convey? So stack chart, for one, you can see the breakdown, but not very well. So if you want them to really see the breakdown or see the trend of how blue thing is moving or trend of how the yellow thing is moving, it's a horrible chart, right? Then you could probably think about the line chart and that sort of stuff. And again, a line chart, you can't have like more than 5 elements. So what are you trying to convey? So it obviously conveys the actual values. It does do that. I mean, right? I mean, that's just the length of the total bar. And there it's as good as a bar chart, right? So it's equally good. Although, of course, if there are these divisions there, and if there are too many of them, that can lead to clutter, and then it'll look like a mess. Then it's much worse than a bar chart, right? So that's there. And then what is the other thing? So you can see the breakdown, but not very well. You can't really see the trends. Trends are like really hard to judge. And the other value, the dominant value, is the one that's showed at the bottom. So if you're doing a stacked bar, what you're showing at the bottom, I hope it's intentional. I hope it's dashboard by design. Because again, if you're stacking them, then you're basically saying the one at the bottom is the most important, because that's the one that's easiest to compare. You get it, right? I mean, and again, it's kind of intuitive. If you ask me to compare, well, this one is a kind of a weird chart because the values are kind of fantastically different. But imagine if the blue was like this much and this long and this long. It's impossible to kind of compare it. But the yellow one, I can be very, very precise, right? So that's why. So again, the bottom element is kind of important. So yeah, so use stack chart by design. This is why I'm using stack bar. So that's the get great there. I like this one. So again, this is kind of a breakdown. Maybe I will try to put these two elements kind of side by side because they're kind of comparisons against something versus target and so forth. So I would try to put them side by side. Sales by sub products. I'm not sure what this one is called. I've seen this. I don't think this either. You have to do it using a custom visual, or you have to do it using R. Yeah, so those are the two ones I've seen. Maybe a custom visual can do this. And this can be helpful in seeing patterns. I would say this is a mock-up. I think you have to see that. What does it look like for the real data? Is it conveying any insight? Are people really able to see and detect a pattern? If not, then it's just noise, right? So see that with real data. It depends on that. It can be really powerful. The ribbon graph, quite popular again. People kind of like it, like same as the pie chart and the maps. I really think ribbon graphs are pretty bad, if you ask me, because they're using a lot of pixels. You're paying a lot for them. Remember, you're paying for every pixel, and it's not very effective. It can be effective in storytelling. So again, folks, there are different realms of this. One is storytelling. One is infographic, right, which the newspapers publish usually, and then there's operation reporting, right? So infographic, storytelling, and then operation reporting. Operation reporting is on day to day. Ribbon graph, I'll admit, can be effective for storytelling, because imagine a bigger graph, because you can click on one of these elements and then it highlights the journey of one product and you talk about that, and you click and it highlights the journey and you talk about that. So it can be good for kind of presentation, possibly good for that. But I don't think you need to. I mean, you can do it different ways. You can do it using a simple column chart. Just try it. Just try it out. See how effective it is. Like, what if I selected the product one at a time and told a story? So, right. So again, stack chart. So actually, this is great. So we've already talked about how stack chart are really complicated, and most people don't even understand stack charts, right? I mean, they're not using them intentionally. There's a, oh, I have this and I want to show breakdown. Stack chart it is, right? But you don't understand like where it is most effective, where it is not effective, right? So I talked to you a little bit about that. So this is kind of stack charts made worse in a way, because they have all the, well, I would say, yeah, kind of the gotchas for stack charts, but now it's even more complicated, which makes it even harder to interpret. So ribbon charts, not a huge fan of. Again, I see it out there all the time, but again, guys, I would bet that almost all the time, these guys, they're doing dashboard by accident, not dashboard by design. And that's what I'm trying to rescue you from. Your client is not the expert. It's your job to be the expert. Is it easy? Not always. You know, I don't want to always have the conversation with that client of why pie charts are not very effective, but sometimes I do. You know, sometimes it's not appropriate to have that conversation, right? CEO says pie chart, and I'm like, God, okay, fine, pie chart. I don't argue back with them, right? So, so the client, whether it's internal or external, they're not the experts. You are, and so what are you creating? Yeah, right? I mean, what are you creating? Are you creating dashboards by accident or by design, right? So by accident is where you haven't really studied up on visualization. You just throw it up there and cross your fingers, and that kind of looks good. And other people say, oh yeah, that looks great, man, awesome, looks beautiful, looks stunning. Well, but is it effective? Who cares if it's stunning? I mean, right? So again, what is your goal? Infographic, storytelling, or operational reporting? The goal for operational reporting is never that, oh, it's visually stunning. That's going to wear off really, really quick, mates. Really, really quick. And then they're going to be stuck with something that is not effective, that doesn't lead them to the right insights, they have to struggle to kind of understand the data. So the goal is dashboard by design. So ribbon charts, not my favorite. Tree map can be effective. Sales by employee, boy. I guess maybe the employee is a salesperson. That's good. Sales by vertical. Yeah, I think that's kind of good overall. I would say maybe do put some numbers on there. Maybe that can be effective. There's a lot of space here. That would be a great spot to put the numbers. Do you really need the logo? And logo is like the worst waste of space of the most important space. Like the top left, that's the most valuable real estate they can ever be on a screen. There's nothing more valuable than that. Yeah, just put the logo on the least valuable place, because logos, they're not data pixels, they're not adding anything, they're not going to change. Right? So just stick the logo. I know they love seeing the logo, just stick it in the corner, it's still there. So so that's that. And there are some exceptions to that. If you have a report with multiple pages where each page is like a different logo, different something, then maybe you can put it up there. Right? All right. So overall, again, I would say it is a mock-up, and I think it's a good mock-up with some tweaks. What is the last thing that I was going to say? So maybe show some numbers, and just play around with some of the other elements. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I think this is going to end up being a good dashboard. All right, folks, what is the time? It's 11:13. This has been pretty awesome. I didn't see any new submissions. So, folks, again, shout outs, first of all, to Real Power BI. What an amazing opportunity. So, by the way, guys, this is one of the best ways. So Real Power BI, we think it's amazing because, for one, it'll help you do something amazing. You're going to have a sidekick, or you're going to be their sidekick, whichever way you want to look at it. So you can, if you submit your project through here, apply through this, we basically connect you with one of our amazing Pro Plus students. Where's the graph here? There you go. So this is simple as that. You say, hey, I could use help with a project. You submit it, apply to this program, and we match you up with somebody awesome. And it is application based, and earlier you apply, the better your chances are of finding somebody good and of being selected. And what was the other thing? it is going to be time based. So obviously, don't ask them to build the Taj Mahal, right? That wouldn't be fair. So it'll be roughly kind of 4 to 5 weeks. So that's kind of the time frame. But amazing things are possible. So again, you can get a sidekick, or you can be their sidekick for a while. So it can help you get pretty amazing results. And of course, we have some quotes here. What is it? Yeah, real Power BI, real results. How awesome is that? Right. So yeah, I mean, I love it. Our new reports, everything you need. It's a huge wake up call. All right, I'll just read that on the page. But so that is right on the homepage, because we are open right now. We're accepting real Power BI projects, and I'm trying to show the deadline on here somewhere. The deadline is the end of this month. But again, don't wait till the last minute, because the earlier you submit, the better your chances are of being selected. Obviously, if you submit right now, you're highly likely that you're going to be matched with somebody. If you wait, then it may not happen. We cannot guarantee it, and of course, I mentioned that somewhere in its text, so it's not guaranteed. But yeah, we're looking for people, and we see that as a win-win. My goal is to create these Power BI superheroes, and they're chomping at the bits to help business and get some real-world experience. And this is their stepping stone for them. They're going to be famous someday, and you're going to get to tell your kids that, oh yeah, that guy, oh man, yeah, Anthony, he helped me. I was the first one to kind of hire him, through the real Power BI, and I worked with him, and he helped me with this project. So catch them before they're famous and out of reach. All right, so that's real Power BI, and of course, Dashboard Makeover. That's always there under our free resources. Find that there, and submit it next time. And again, I think it's a great opportunity for one to start getting this mode of telling your story, telling the story of your work. That's one of the most important stories you can tell. In this day and age, I'm never going to get tired of saying this, right? You can't just do good work, folks. Look around you. Look at your own life, frankly, right? I mean, that's where I was for a long time. I was like slogging away, and I thought the key to success was just working harder. But is it really? Well, where has that gotten you, right? And what if it was something else? And man, of course, I've been obsessed with this for the past several years after experiencing this myself, right? That, that hard work and tech skills alone that's not what makes it. So if you ask me, the recipe is simple. You got to do good work. That's great. 2 thumbs up. But you got to tell great stories. So this can be the kickoff point for that, right? Where you kind of submit it here, and it gets showcased in front of an audience, and that's your story. We're going to call out your name, and of course, if you're a student, you're going to be on the call talking to us, and you can explain more. You can tell us about the context. You can tell us about the client you're building this for, and so forth. So that's kind of one. And then, of course, you get, hopefully, useful feedback. I mean, that one isn't guaranteed. That one is, we'll see. Hopefully useful feedback from me, but from others as well. All right, folks. So I'll sign off for today. I will see you next week on Talk Power BI. Take care.